One millionaire's heart revealed. Waitress discovered a shocking secret about his girlfriend. Jess wiped the counter for what felt like the 100th time that afternoon, the smell of coffee mingling with grease from the fryer. In the heart of Maplewood, Rosie's diner buzzed with the hum of conversation, the clatter of dishes, and the laughter of regulars who felt like family. But today was different. A new patron, tall, with a confident smile that could light up the dimmest corners of her humble life, had walked in. Luke, the millionaire. Their eyes met, and in that instant, Jess felt an unexpected warmth spread through her. Maybe it was the sun piercing through the window, or maybe it was just the hope she harbored deep within her. She'd spent years juggling bills and caring for her mother, who fought valiantly against her illness. Writing had always been her dream, but each shift at the diner pulled her further away. Yet here stood a man who seemed to promise something larger than life beyond the diner's faded blue booths. "I'll have a cheeseburger," he said, his voice smooth like silk. Jess nodded, her heart racing, the hope swelling in her chest like a balloon ready to take flight. She took his order, pouring coffee and introducing him to the daily specials, all while trying to suppress her giggles and nerves. His laugh rang like music, soothing her rusted spirit. Hours slid by, and as they chatted, Jess learned that behind the millionaire facade lay insecurities, pressures, and a yearning for genuine connection. They shared laughter, dreams, and a bond that felt uncanny in its strength. Each passing minute filled her with more light than she thought possible, but as the day dimmed, her heart began to weigh heavy. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Just as Jess started to believe that maybe, just maybe, her life was turning a corner, she stumbled upon a secret that shook her to the core. His girlfriend, a shadow that loomed over their friendship, was not the person she seemed to be. Jess had seen her, tainting the love Luke expressed so freely, a betrayal lurking in the very air that Jess breathed. The weight of that truth gripped her tight, twisting her stomach into knots. Her own moral compass spun like a top, urging her to choose. Should she uphold honesty for the sake of her friend? That bond they had forged felt so fragile. Yet, how could she stand by and watch deception play out before her eyes? The diner that had been her safe space turned into a battleground for her conscience. The impact of the secret pressed against her chest, a reminder that the pursuit of the American dream was often tangled in painful truths. As she stared at the laughter and love swirling around her, Jess faced an impossible choice. Each second felt like an eternity. Would she shatter the world Luke had built, or would she take the risk of remaining silent, hiding the darkness beneath the surface? With her heart racing and mind whirling, Jess stood at the edge of a decision, all too aware that whatever path she chose would not only affect Luke but redefine her own identity, her values, and the community she held dear. Jess leaned against the counter, her heart still racing, her thoughts a chaotic storm. The regulars' chatter faded into the background as she tried to process the weight of the knowledge she now carried. She glanced towards Luke, who was still seated at his booth, absorbed in conversation with another diner. His easy laughter floated through the air, enchanting everyone, and yet Jess couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. "Hey, Jess," called Marcy, one of the other waitresses, snapping Jess out of her reverie. "You need to get out of this funk. You're about to break that purse sponge in half." She gestured to the grimy dishwashing sponge left forgotten in Jess's hand. Jess forced a smile, but inside, her thoughts churned. How could she articulate the truth without tearing apart this fragile bond they'd just begun to build? She had only just started to see glimpses of a life beyond the diner, a life that might include someone like Luke. Yet now, the thought of deception chained her to the very space she yearned to escape. "Okay, I'll be right there," Jess replied, chiding herself for letting her worries seep into her shifts. She needed to get it together, but the truth weighed heavily. As she resumed wiping the counter, her mind raced through every possibility. She was lost in these thoughts when a familiar face entered the diner. It was Lily, the queen bee of Maplewood's social scene and most notably Luke's girlfriend. The moment their eyes met, Jess's stomach twisted. She watched as Lily strutted through the entrance, with the same confidence and poise that had charmed Luke before Jess had truly gotten to know him. But now, under the weight of her secret, Lizzie felt as if a spotlight shone only on the shadows of their truths. "Hey, Adore," Lily called across the room, her voice dripping with sweet embellishment as she approached the counter, her gaze flicking between Jess and Luke. Jess forced herself to remain calm, her heart pounding against her ribcage as she forced out a cheery "Hi, Lily." Jess felt the walls closing in. She had to make a choice, and fast. Would she tell Luke? Could she risk their connection? Or would she let things play out, knowing full well the danger posed? Every fiber of her being wanted to shout the truth, to save him from the deception that pulsed like a dark heartbeat behind Lily's bright smile. In her distracted state, Jess could hardly concentrate on her tasks as Lily continued to chat, oblivious to the turmoil inside Jess. "Oh, you and Luke are getting along so well," she giggled, casting a glance toward him, obviously charmed. For the first time, Jess felt an overwhelming sense of confrontation. Memories of the tales she had tucked away, of the longing for a life beyond the diner, flooded back. Would she allow everything to be swept away by deceit? Or could she be brave enough to illuminate the shadows? She took a deep breath, the coffee's bitter scent cutting through her racing thoughts. Maybe it was time to confront her fears, to step into the light and reveal the truth, no matter the cost. Just then, her eyes caught Luke slipping out of the booth, making his way toward them. "Jess, can I steal you for a minute?" he asked, his smile bright as he beckoned her away from the counter. Jess's heart fluttered, but anxiety wrapped around it like a vice. He needed to know, but could she shatter the joy sparking between them over someone else's deceit? As she followed him, she felt the weight of the world collide with her resolve. Would she reveal the truth or let it persist? When confronted with the moment, Jess's voice trembled like a fragile leaf in the wind. The atmosphere crackled, each second stretching out endlessly. "There's something I need to tell you," but one thought loomed larger. Would the truth draw them closer to an undeniable connection, or would it send them spiraling into an abyss of misunderstanding? The answer hung in the air, thick and unresolved. "Jess, what is it?" Luke's expression brimmed with curiosity, his blue eyes searching hers. The moment felt infinite, suspended in time. The din of the diner faded, the clinking of dishes and chatter of patrons creating a distant hum. All that mattered was the weight of the words she might share. Jess opened her mouth, but the words were stuck, tightly lodged in her throat. Would he understand? Would he listen? "Jess, you look like you've seen a ghost," he said softly, a gentle smile on his lips that made her heart flutter yet again. "You can talk to me, you know that?" There was a sincerity in his voice, anchoring her as she fought against the storm of fear swirling inside. The last thing she wanted was to ruin the moment. They had been layering their connection line by line, the quiet moments shared over coffee steadily constructing something beautiful. The thought of disrupting that with her revelation pulled at her insides, but then another glance at Luke so earnest, so genuine sliced through the chaos, and she remembered all the times she had wished for someone to stand up for her. "To be honest." "Okay. I need to tell you," she began, but the weight of Lily's smile flickered in her mind. She hesitated, letting the silence stretch further. A bead of sweat trickled down her back. "I found something out about Lily." Luke's brow furrowed, confusion washing over his features. "About Lily? What do you mean?" There it was. The crack in her resolve deepened. In that heartbeat, she realized that without a leap of faith, things might never change. "She isn't who you think she is." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "She's been hiding things. You need to know." "What are you talking about?" He stepped closer, urgency now lacing his tone. She just stumbled. "She isn't really loyal to you." "I mean, I know this sounds crazy, but I heard her talking about someone else." The words fell like heavy stones. Luke's eyes widened, a mix of shock and disbelief dancing across his face. Talking about someone else? Jess, this isn't funny. I'm not trying to be funny, she exclaimed, the heat rising in her cheeks. I wish I were. I wouldn't say anything if I didn't believe it. But what does that even mean? He pressed, words rushing out like a flood. What did you hear? Who is she seeing? I can't say for sure, Jess pleaded, feeling the despair seep into her bones. But I can't keep this from you. She doesn't deserve you. With a deep sigh, his voice softened. Then help me understand. Please tell me everything you know. Taking a shaky breath, Jess decided to dive deeper. I don't know the full story, but I overheard Lily at the cafe last week. She was talking to a guy. They seemed close. More than friends. Luke's demeanor shifted, a flicker of disappointment flashing across his eyes. I can't believe this. Are you sure? I wish I could say I'm mistaken, Jess replied, frustration bubbling within her. The silence that enveloped them was sharp and heavy, each second pulling further apart the world they had begun to imagine. Jess watched as Luke's expression morphed, a whirlwind of disbelief, anger, and heartbreak swirling just beneath the surface. I need to talk to her, he muttered, but Jess could see the doubt creeping into him. I don't want this to be true. But if it is. Before he could finish, a low voice cut through their tension. Well, isn't this cozy? They both turned to see Lily striding toward them, her smile wide and calculating. Jess's heart raced, every instinct shouting at her, warning her of the confrontation about to unfold. Luke was caught between his brewing storm and the bright facade Lily wore so effortlessly. As Lily approached, the air thickened with uncertainty. What secrets lay behind those perfect lips, and would Jess's truth stand against the well-crafted illusion Lily had built? Hey, babe, she cooed, wrapping an arm around Luke's waist. What is going on here? The truth was about to clash with a lie. Jess's heart raced as she steadied herself, knowing this moment could change everything. Would Luke be able to see through Lily's charm? Or would he be lost in her web of deceit? As the world around them paused, Jess couldn't help but wonder, was this the beginning of clarity, or the end of everything she and Luke had started to build? Lily's presence loomed over them like a thundercloud ready to burst. Jess sensed the tension crackling between them, her pulse quickening with the weight of what she had just revealed. Luke's body stiffened marginally under the arm Lily draped around him, as if he, too, was sensing the storm brewing. What were you two talking about? Lily asked, her smile tightening just slightly, betraying a hint of scrutiny as her eyes darted between Jess and Luke. I was just catching up with an old friend, Luke said, his voice more hesitant than Jess had ever heard it. He stepped back, subtly distancing himself from Lily, though his gaze flickered nervously like a moth drawn toward a flame. Jess seized this moment. Luke, she began, forcing her voice to stay steady amidst the chaos in her chest. I think we need to talk about what Lily has been up to. Lily's laughter rang out, cutting like glass through the air. Come on, Jess. You're not really suggesting that I'm unfaithful, are you? The playfulness in her tone was sharp, dipped in sarcasm. She tilted her head, her eyes gleaming with feigned innocence. Not just what I heard, Jess pressed, grounding herself. What I saw, too. It's serious, Luke. You need to know the truth about her. Did you see something? Luke's voice trembled on the edge of doubt, as if he were pleading for reassurance. At the cafe, she said, her gaze unwavering. She was with another guy. They were too close, too comfortable. I thought you should know. For a heartbeat, Jess hoped to see clarity dawn in Luke's eyes. But instead, a shadow passed over his face. So you just happened to be eavesdropping? That's not the point, Jess exclaimed. This is about you, and I couldn't let it go without saying something. If you truly care for her, you deserve to know who you're really with. Lily stepped forward, her smile now on the defensive. You think you can come in here and just tear us apart with baseless accusations? That's low, Jess. Is it low to care about your best friend? Jess shot back, her voice shaky but laced with determination. Luke glanced between them, caught in a crossfire of emotions. I just need a second, he stammered, running a hand through his hair. He stepped away, creating a small distance yet still bearing the weight of the decision that loomed. Lily turned on him, her expression now icy. "You can't be serious, Luke. This is ridiculous. Don't let her manipulate you." "Am I being manipulated by the person who claims to be my girlfriend or by the person trying to protect me?" Luke responded, the tension filling the air like smoke swirling around them. Jess felt a flicker of hope. What if he was beginning to see? As she watched Lily's frustration morph into anger, everything within her screamed that this was the turning point. "Maybe you're just jealous, Jess," Lily hissed, the venom in her words cutting deeper. "You've always been envious. That's what this is really about." "No, it's not," Jess shouted back, her heart racing with hurt. "This isn't about me. This is about you hurting him." Luke's eyes narrowed, uncertainty clouding his features. "I can't believe you'd do this to me, Lily," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. Lily's mask cracked, anger giving way to desperation. "Luke, please let us just get out of here. We can talk about this later." But a shift was happening. With every second that passed, the pieces were falling into place. Jess noticed the slight shake in Luke's hand, the way he hesitated when he looked back at Lily. "Why wait?" Jess pressed, her own heart pounding in her chest. "Don't you deserve to know what's really going on while you still can? Before it's too late?" Luke was silent, the weight of the moment hanging thick in the air as he stood between them, the tension palpable. As Jess held her breath, she wondered if he would choose to uncover the truth, or if he would turn back to the lie that had lulled him into comfort. The silence stretched, and Jess felt a flicker of dread. Would they ever come back from this moment? Then, in the stillness, Luke finally turned to her, and she could see the gears turning in his mind. "What do you mean too late?" he asked, his voice tentative but filled with an urgency that made Jess's heart race. "Because, Luke," she started, feeling the weight of it all press against her chest. "If you don't act now, you might lose everything." With that truth hanging low between them, Jess prepared herself for whatever would come next. Would he trust her? Would he see through the illusion and grasp the hand reached out for him? The tension in the diner had never felt so electric. Little did Jess know, one more revelation was waiting to pierce the fragile peace they had just begun to build. And as time continued its relentless march forward, a secret would soon surface that could shatter everything once again. Would truth prevail, or would deception remain unchallenged? Luke's silence buzzed around them, a thick fog that made Jess's heart race faster. She could see the confusion swimming in his eyes, his stance uncertain. It was a moment suspended in time. She wanted to reach out, to shake him out of the paralysis that seemed to grip him, but the fear of what might happen next rooted her in place. "Jess, you're my friend," he finally said, voice shaking yet oddly resolute. "But I can't just take your word for it. I need more than this." Lily smiled, a flicker of victory sparking in her eyes. "See? Even he knows what's true. You need to back off, Jess." "No, Luke, please," Jess pleaded, feeling the desperation clawing at her throat. "Just think about it. If you're so willing to brush this off, what does that say about your relationship? What does it say about your friendship?" Lily shot back, her calm facade starting to crack. "You're not looking out for him. You're trying to sabotage what we have." "Stop turning this around, Lily," Jess said, heat flooding her cheeks. "This isn't about me trying to get in the way. This is about love, a real love that doesn't let lies fester. You deserve better than this." "You're right," Luke chimed in, his voice steadying, but still layered with doubt. "I deserve better, but I can't just jump to conclusions. I need to know for sure." For a brief moment, Jess thought he was finally seeing the truth. She opened her mouth to speak, to urge him on, but the noise of the diner suddenly surged around them, voices, laughter, clattering plates, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling in their small universe. Luke's thoughts were echoing in the background. "What do I do?" he muttered, almost to himself. Then in a sudden shift, he turned to Lily, and the air seemed to tighten. "I need to know what happened at the cafe. Are you going to deny it?" Lily's smile vanished, replaced by a look that Jess recognized all too well. It was that of a cornered animal, calculating its way out. "This is ridiculous. Just tell the truth. Save us all from this mess." Jess shouted, feeling both sides of the battle anchor her deeper into dread. I was with a friend, someone from work, Lily replied, her voice dropping a note, inching toward desperation. It was harmless. Then why lie about it? Luke's brows knitted together, tension tightening the muscles in his jaw. If it's so harmless, why not just say so? A flicker of something fear or anger crossed Lily's face. Because I knew you'd overreact. You always do when I'm not with you. I just didn't want to start another fight. Lily, you're not even making sense right now. Luke shook his head, each word slowly guiding him back to the center. Then, glancing at Jess, he asked, "What do you think I should do?" Jess held her breath, caught off guard by the weight of his question. He was finally looking to her again. "Listen to your gut," she said, feeling a lightness in her heart even amidst the chaos. "Trust yourself. You deserve someone who respects you enough to tell you the truth, not manipulate you." There was a moment of clarity in Luke's eyes, but before he could respond, a figure loomed behind Jess. It was a tall waiter carrying an enormous tray. "Excuse me," he said, bewildered by the scene unraveling before him. "Can I take your order?" The interruption broke the tension, and for a fleeting moment, Jess felt the air lighten. But then, just like that, a new wave of anxiety hit her. For every moment they lingered, the truth remained unchallenged. As Luke turned toward the waiter, Jess understood the weight of the choice that still hung heavy in the air. Would he go back to Lily? Or would he seek out the truth she desperately wanted him to embrace, with swirls of uncertainty hanging between them and the quiet pulse of a drowsy diner in the background? Jess braced herself. Something vital was about to shift, and it might just define everything from here on out. Then the moment of truth was upon them as Luke finally turned back to Jess, determination carving his features anew. "You know what? Let us settle this once and for all. What could he possibly mean, and would it lead them down a path they were truly ready for?" Luke took a deep breath, his eyes locking onto Jess with an intensity that made her heart race. The chaos of the diner faded, replaced with the sound of a ticking clock somewhere in the background, amplifying the urgency of the moment. He was ready to confront the truth. "Lily," he said, his voice calmer than he felt. "I need you to be honest with me. No more lies." Jess held her breath, fear and hope intertwining in her chest as she watched Lily's expression shift. The confident veneer crumbled slightly, revealing a flicker of panic. "Luke, please, don't do this here, not now," she stammered, her voice quivering. "We're already here," Luke stated firmly, his gaze unwavering. "If you have something to say, now's the time." Jess felt a surge of pride for him, a determination that had been missing too long. He was finally taking a stand, ready to strip away the confusion and face the hard facts. Yet, this moment teetered on a precipice, and Jess knew it carried weight, potentially unbearable consequences. A silence fell, heavy like the weight of unspoken truths. Lily's hands fidgeted in her lap, searching for a way out, but Luke wasn't going to let her slip away this time. "If it was nothing, then why do I feel like you've been hiding something?" Lily's breathing hitched. "You're being dramatic. People don't hide harmless things." "Maybe they do when they're scared," Jess interjected, her voice steady. "Fear makes people do desperate things. We're not asking for the perfect answer, we just need the real one." The eyes of nearby diners flicked over, curiosity piqued by their intensity. A couple at the next table whispered to each other, and the waiter shifted his weight, clearly unsure of how to navigate the tension. "Fine," Lily exploded, her desperation finally bubbling over. "I was with someone. Is that what you want to hear?" Luke's jaw tightened, and for a moment Jess feared he might crumble. But his resolve hardened. "Who?" Lily's face turned pale. "It's not what you think, Luke." "Then tell me," he demanded, voice rising. "Who is he?" "Just a guy I met. A coworker, we were discussing projects. Nothing romantic." Jess watched as Luke stepped back, his heart seemingly breaking in real time. Anger flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly replaced by hurt, a raw emotion that made him look smaller. He turned to Jess, seeking reassurance. "Is that true, Jess? Can I trust this?" Her heart pounded, knowing what was at stake. It could be true, or maybe it's just her way of covering up something bigger. You need to be your own judge, Luke. The tension thickened again, suffocating in its weight. Every person around them seemed to hold their breath, captivated by the unfolding drama. He stood still, wrestling with his thoughts. The landscape of his world had suddenly shifted beneath him. I need space. I need to think, he said finally, those words tumbling out almost fiercely, like a dagger aimed at the heart of the chaos. Jess blinked, realizing the impact of what he meant. He was pulling away not just from Lily, but from everything that had defined him until this moment. As he strode out of the diner, the doorbell chimed behind him, signaling a finality that felt crushing. Lily's expression twisted in denial as if her world was collapsing. Jess felt a mix of sorrow and relief, knowing Luke was taking a step toward clarity, even if it came at a cost. Suddenly, the air shimmered with tension, the diner buzzing with whispered questions and secondhand heartbreak. Jess turned back to Lily, the longing to comfort her swirling alongside her own emotions. Don't blame him for protecting himself, Jess said softly. You had the chance. It's not too late to fix this, but you have to own it. Lily glared at her, the storm still churning inside her. You don't understand. You think it's that easy? No, but I know you care. You'll have to decide what you truly want, Jess replied, every word fighting against her own breaking heart. As the weight of unsaid words lingered, Jess felt the world shift again, a sudden realization dawning. She still didn't know what Luke was truly thinking, where he would go from here. But deep down, she sensed the course of their lives had irrevocably changed. She couldn't shake the feeling that one more step could either bring them closer or drive them apart forever. All she could do now was hope he had the strength to choose the path that led to the truth, whatever that truth turned out to be. The diner felt like a cage, the clattering dishes and soft chatter of patrons fading into the background as Jess watched Lily. There was something haunting in Lily's eyes, a blend of regret and defiance that mirrored the turmoil inside Jess's own heart. The words they hadn't said hung thick in the air, waiting to be addressed. Do you really think it can still be fixed? Jess asked, her voice softening. She could see Lily's mask of bravado beginning to crack, revealing a hint of vulnerability. The walls were closing in, but Jess needed to know if there was still hope. Lily crossed her arms tightly, refusing to meet Jess's gaze. You don't get it, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Luke's hurt, and it's my fault. I never meant to. For what? Trying to keep your secret safe? Jess said, a sense of urgency coursing through her. Look where that's gotten you. You've lost him, Lily. Keeping it all bottled up only made it worse. Lily hung her head. I was trying to protect him. I thought he wouldn't understand. Protect him? Jess felt a spark of indignation. Or protect yourself. You can't just hide in the shadows of fear and expect everything to be okay. You need to own up to your mistakes. Lily's expression wavered, but stubbornness clung to her like a reputation. And what if he doesn't want to hear it? What if it's too late? The thought made Jess's stomach churn. It's never too late until you give up. You love him, don't you? Lily's silence spoke volumes. Jess could see that love, deep and trembling, still flickering somewhere within. She reached out, grasping Lily's hand. Then fight for him. You owe it to yourself and to him. Go to him now. Don't let this dim light fade away. As if realizing for the first time that there might still be a chance, a flicker of determination ignited in Lily's eyes. She squeezed Jess's hand, her voice gaining strength. You're right. I need to talk to him. I can't just leave it like this. With a final glance exchanged, Lily bolted from the booth, her footsteps echoing across the tile floor before the door swung shut behind her. Jess exhaled, tension leaving her body momentarily. But as she settled back into her seat, uncertainty flooded in. Had she done the right thing? Had she just pushed Lily to the very brink of ruin, or had she given her the nudge needed to mend a broken heart? Meanwhile, outside, Luke was leaning against the cool metal of his car, his thoughts spiraling. He replayed the confrontation in his mind, Lily's panicked face, her rushing words. He kicked the gravel beneath his feet, frustration boiling up. Was any of it true? Could he trust her now? Just then, he noticed a figure rushing toward him. It was Lily, her hair flying behind her as she approached with urgency. She stopped a few steps away, breathless and wide-eyed. "Luke," she called out, the raw emotion in her voice piercing the evening air. "What do you want, Lily?" He crossed his arms defensively, heart pounding as he prepared himself for whatever she might say next. Was he ready to hear it, and more importantly, was he ready to forgive? "I want to be honest," she said, her voice earnest, shaking just a little. "I messed up. But I love you and I can't lose you." As her words hung in the air between them, Jess watched from the diner's window, a pit forming in her stomach. She gripped the edge of the table, wishing she could see how this would play out. Would love triumph over the shadows of doubt, or was this just a momentary spark in a growing wildfire of heartbreak? Everything hinged on Luke's next move, and in that tense second, time felt suspended. Jess could almost see the decision wrapping around him, weaving through the delicate threads of trust and betrayal. But one truth remained: it was still anyone's game. Would he choose to open his heart, or slam the door shut, forever pulling away from her world? Luke stood frozen, his expression a storm of confusion and pain. Lily's eyes, wide and pleading, searched his face for any sign of hope. The weight of unspoken words hung heavily between them, and he could feel his heart racing, each beat echoing in the quiet of the parking lot. "I need to know if you mean that," he finally managed to say, his voice a mere whisper. His defenses wrestled against the rising tide of feelings he had kept bottled up. Love, betrayal, anger, it was all swirling inside him, clawing for resolution. Lily stepped closer, vulnerability etched into her features. "I've been terrified of what you'd think. I never wanted to hurt you, Luke. But hiding it has only hurt us both." Tears shimmered in her eyes, threatening to spill over. "Every moment without you feels like a part of me is missing. Please just listen." He took a deep breath, weighing her words carefully. "It's not that simple, Lily. You had a chance to tell me the truth, and you didn't. How can I trust you again?" "I know," she said, her voice trembling with sincerity. "I was scared. I thought it would protect you from my mistakes. I thought," she faltered, fighting back tears. "I thought you'd be better off without knowing about my past. But now I see how wrong I was." Anguish flickered across his face. "You don't realize how much that hurt me, right? It felt like you were living a life you didn't want me to be part of. I felt shut out." "I was ashamed," she admitted, her gaze falling to the ground. "I never wanted to be that girl. I wanted to be someone you could love fully without the baggage. But I have to face it, and I want to face it with you." Luke's heart softened just enough to allow a flicker of hope to bloom. "And what if I can't forgive you? What if this is too much?" "Then we figure it out together," she insisted, her voice a fierce whisper. "If you can't find it in yourself to forgive me, then I'll live with that. But I would rather fight for you than walk away without trying." He glanced up, meeting her gaze, and for a moment, the world faded away. He could see everything they had built: its strength, its beauty, but also its fractures. She was laying herself bare before him, everything she feared now exposed. Something in him shifted. "I need time," he replied, his heart heavy, yet aching for the chance to heal. "It's going to take time to process everything you've said." Lily nodded slowly, her expression mixing hope with fear, vulnerability mingling with the doubt still lingering in the air. "I'll wait. I won't pressure you. Just know that I love you, and I'm here whenever you're ready." As she took a step back, the atmosphere shifted again, filled with unsaid promises and unanswered questions. Luke's gaze lingered on her, and he felt pulled between wanting to reach for her and needing the space to breathe. Jess, watching from inside the diner, felt her own heart race. The tension outside was palpable, but she could see a glimmer of something in Lily's hopeful demeanor. Was it true, a chance for love to mend what was broken, or just an illusion? Then, as if sensing Jess's gaze, Lily turned back, locking her eyes on her friend for a brief moment, an understanding passing between them. It was a silent acknowledgement of the risk they were both taking, but the future was still uncertain. What would Luke choose when the dust settled? Could the love they once shared rise from the ashes of hurt and secrecy, or would it turn to embers, the chance for reconciliation lost forever? In that moment, doubt hung in the air. A question mark that lingered over their hearts: was love enough to bridge the gap of betrayal? And as that thought settled in Jess's mind, she realized the next steps were crucial. They were teetering on a precipice between heartbreak and healing, and nothing would be the same again. What happens now? Jess whispered to herself, uncertainty gnawing at her. Little did they know, the truth was still lurking just around the corner, ready to turn their fragile moment of hope into something far richer and perhaps more dangerous. Luke walked away from Lily, his heart pounding in his chest. Each step felt heavier than the last, like the weight of their conversation was anchoring him to the ground. He needed to think, to breathe. The night air was thick with unresolved feelings, swirling around him as he paced the empty street. He knew he had to process what she said, but every thought was clouded by the fear of what that truth implied. A part of him was desperate to reach out, to tell her it would be okay. Yet another part clung to the betrayal like a lifeline, not ready to let go. In the diner, Jess watched him. She could see the struggle etched on his face. "What is going on out there?" she muttered to herself, her worries tugging at her insides. She felt an odd mix of hope for Lily and an undeniable urge to protect Luke from pain. He was her best friend, and seeing him hurt felt like a stab in the chest. As Luke stopped, staring at the neon glow of the Diner's sign, his thoughts drifted back to the memories of their laughter and love. Those moments felt like a distant dream now, so fragile under the weight of Lily's secrets. Could he ever trust her again? The question echoed, relentless, in the stillness of the night. "Hey," Jess finally called out, stepping outside. The fresh air wrapped around her like a cloak of courage. "You okay?" He turned to face her, his expression a tempest. "I don't even know," he admitted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I thought we were solid, Jess. I thought I knew her," and now he let the sentence drift off, too overwhelmed to finish. Jess stepped closer, ready to offer her support. "People mess up. It's what we do. But for you two to get through this, she has to show you she means it. You deserve to know the truth, Luke. And you deserve to trust her again." "Yeah, but trust isn't something you just earn back with a few sweet words," he replied sharply, even though he knew she was right. "What if I can't get past it? What if she's not telling me everything? And what if she is?" Jess countered gently, touching his arm. "You care about her. You love her. Maybe this is the moment that tests everything you feel and not just her mistakes." Luke stared off into the distance, feeling lost. Every part of him wanted to storm back to Lily, to demand more answers, but the other part craved time to digest everything. How could he weigh his love against the pain of her secrets? "Just think," Jess encouraged, stepping back to give him space. "You're at a crossroads, and your heart has the map. Don't ignore it. Follow it." With a soft laugh that held more hope than he felt, Luke nodded. "You always know what to say, don't you?" "It's what friends do," she smiled, but concern lingered in her eyes. "Just be careful, okay?" He took a deep breath. "I will. And thanks, Jess." As he turned to walk away, the glow of the diner faded behind him, and the cool night air felt both calming and charged with anticipation. His heart wrestled with uncertainty, but one thing was clear: he needed to confront Lily again, face their past, and carve a path forward. But what would that confrontation reveal? Would more shadows of her past emerge, or could they build a future from the remnants of their broken trust? The ache in his chest settled deeper, pushing him to remember there was still so much left unsaid. With every step toward Lily, he wondered just how far those shadows could stretch, and if he was truly ready to step into the light. Days passed, each one heavy as if the weight of uncertainty hung in the air like the thick fog of autumn. Maplewood had shifted slightly. Whispers buzzed among patrons of Rosie's diner, the once warm atmosphere now tinged with tension. Jess watched Luke navigate his emotional landscape while Lily was conspicuously absent. The diner felt smaller without their laughter and secrets, yet she knew healing would take time. Jess continued her shifts with a heavy heart, whispering to herself as she cleaned the counter, wondering how their lives had come to this crossroads. Each cup of coffee she poured reminded her of the delicate ties that bonded them all. She noticed Luke coming in more often, alone now, his gaze distant. The lightness that once danced in him was dimmed, burdened by the choices that loomed ahead. One particularly dreary afternoon, Luke sat in his usual booth, staring at nothing. Jess approached him cautiously, her heart lurching as she caught a glimpse of the vulnerability he wore like armor. "Hey, can I get you anything?" she asked gently. He looked up, forcing a smile that didn't quite meet his eyes. "Just coffee, thanks," he replied quietly. After pouring his drink, she slid into the booth with him, the hum of familiar chatter and clinking dishes fading into the background. "You've been avoiding the truth since all this happened, haven't you?" She prodded softly, fearing his answer yet recognizing the need to push him toward clarity. "You can't solve anything if you're stuck in limbo." Luke let out a long sigh, the kind that resonates deep within. "I know," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm scared, Jess. What if I reach out to her and I discover things about her that I just can't accept? Or what if she's trying to change and make amends?" Jess encouraged, her heart racing as she spoke the words they both needed to hear. "You owe it to yourself and to her to find out what's truly in her heart. You deserve answers." He met her gaze, the storm swirling in his blue eyes finally settling into something resembling determination. "You're right. I have to face this, but it's going to be hard." "It's supposed to be hard," Jess replied, her voice steady. "But remember, you're not alone in this. You have people who care about you like me." Luke smiled weakly, the warmth of their friendship flickering to the surface. "Thank you for being my anchor. I don't know what I'd do without you." The weight hanging between them shimmered slightly, the possibility of genuine healing emerging from the shadows. His decision hovered on the edge of the moment, and Jess felt hope surge. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Luke found himself standing in front of Lily's apartment. His heart hammered, a mix of fear and hope tangled in his chest while he knocked hesitantly at the door. The seconds stretched into an eternity, but when the door finally opened, he was met with a mix of relief and apprehension on Lily's face. "Luke, I wasn't sure if you'd come," she whispered, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Having summoned every bit of courage, he stepped inside, the air heavy with an unspoken tension. "We need to talk," he said decisively. The next few minutes felt like an eternity, words brushing against vulnerability and honesty, revealing fractured pieces of their relationship. Luke calmed his mind, recalling Jess's words, and allowed himself to voice his truths while keeping his heart open. Lily admitted her mistakes, feelings of fear that had spiraled into secrets, and the pain it caused them both. "I'm so sorry," she murmured, tears trickling down her cheeks. "I want to earn your trust, Luke. I want to try and make this right." Time rolled on, layering comfort over discomfort, and slowly, the painful barriers they had built began to shatter. With every word spoken, the past morphed into a foundation they could choose to build upon. As they faced each other, the flicker of hope returned. "It won't be easy," Luke warned softly, feeling the weight of the journey ahead. "But maybe we can find a way to bridge this gap together." Lily nodded earnestly, determination igniting in her eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes, Luke. I'll prove my love to you, no more secrets." As they embraced, Jess watched from a distance, warmth spreading through her heart. Maybe love had a way of healing, of inspiring transformations in ways they couldn't foresee. The choice to let go of the past steadied their hearts, while the fear of moving forward faded into the background like a whisper in the wind. They were unearthing their connection, and Jess felt proud to witness their journey as it unfolded. With the diner's familiar ambience wrapping around her like a home, Jess realized that in helping her friends choose honesty over despair, she too had found a greater understanding of her own heart. A few weeks later, the diner was alive again with laughter. Luke sat with Lily, their bond stronger than ever as they shared their dreams openly for the first time. Jess served coffee, her heart swelling with warmth, grateful for the changes, the resilience she had witnessed. As she glanced at them, sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating their potential, their love, and the promise of the new path they were forging together. In that moment, she understood that sometimes the hardest roads lead to the brightest destinations, and she felt thankful for the journey they had all embarked upon. She couldn't help but smile. Love had found a way to remind them of their strength, and just as they had transformed, so could anyone who believed in the power of truth. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and keep the magic alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support for the stories that inspire us all.